Action by wave theory. Here we have considered two rays A dash, B dash. These are the two rays incident on the transparent boundary. This is a transparent boundary now. It is not a mirror. So what happens as soon as ray A dash, B dash are incident on the transparent boundary, refraction will occur. That means this light ray will bend, and this represents the bending of light rays. And here the light rays are moving from rarer medium to denser medium. N1 is the refractive index of rarer medium. N2 is the refractive index of denser medium. So whenever light ray passes from rarer to denser medium, it will bend towards the normal. So if you construct a normal here the light ray bends towards the normal. And this green lines represent the wavefront. And as I told you, in the case of reflection, this wavefront will be always perpendicular to the light ray. So if you consider this wavefront, it is perpendicular to the light ray, and these are the incident wavefront. So here we can consider the last wavefront, which is the first wavefront which is incident on the surface, and here AB is the first wavefront to incident on the surface. So AB is the incident wavefront. Okay, and here angle is 90 degree because the wavefront is perpendicular to ray, and this angle, let it be the angle of incidence, and this green lines represents the reflected wavefront. Sorry, not reflected, refracted wavefront, because refraction occurs here. So refracted wavefront, and this angle is 90 degree, and this angle is angle of refraction. So here R is angle of refraction. This angle is 90 degree because wavefront will be perpendicular to the light ray. Now, within a time t, waves from the point B reaches the point C with a velocity of v1. As you know, each point on the wavefront acts as a source of secondary wavelets. So here if we consider the point B on the wavefront, AB is a wavefront, A and B are 2 points on this plane wavefront. So this point B on the plane wavefront acts as a source of secondary wavelets like this, and the secondary wavelets reaches the point C. Okay, and within the time t, within a specified time t, wavelets from the point B reaches the point C with a velocity of v1. v1 is the velocity of the secondary wavelets which is generated from the point B, and within a time t, these waves travel a distance of BC. Okay, within a time t, these secondary wavelets travel a distance BC. Okay, so what will be the distance BC here? Distance BC equal to velocity into time, and here velocity is v1, time is t. Similarly, A is also a point on the wavefront. So this A will give rise to secondary wavelets as per Huygens wave theory, and this secondary wavelets will be propagating towards this direction, and within a time t, the secondary wavelets propagated from A reaches the point D, and these waves travel with a velocity of v2. Okay, velocity will be different because medium is different. This is a rarer medium, this is a denser medium. So in the rarer medium, velocity will be greater, and in the denser medium, velocity will be less. So velocity with which the secondary wavelets travels in this medium, in the first medium and in the second medium, will be different. So let the velocity of the secondary wavelets be v2, and within the same time t, these secondary wavelets developed from the point A reaches the point D. So AD is the distance traveled by the secondary wavelets in the second medium, and what will be that distance? Distance is velocity into time. So in this case, velocity is v2 and time is t itself. So we are considering the distance traveled by the secondary waves from the point A and B within the same time t. Okay, So here it is very clear BC is not equal to AD. Why? Because V1 is not equal to V2. So BC is not equal to AD. Now from these triangles we can find out the expression for sin I and sin R. What is sin I? To find out an expression for sin I, consider the triangle ABC. If you consider the triangle ABC, sin I is opposite side by hypotenuse. Here opposite side is BC. Hypotenuse is AC. And similarly, what is sin R? Sin R. In order to obtain an expression for sin R, we need to consider this triangle, triangle ADC. Sorry, triangle ACD. And if you consider the triangle ACD, sin R is opposite, sin R is equal to opposite side AD by hypotenuse AC. So AD by AC. Now apply the Snell's law. What is Snell's law of refraction? Snell's law of refraction states that sin I by sin R is equal to n to 1. So we are going to prove Snell's law here. So just find out the ratio sin I by sin R. Sin I by sin R is equal to BC by AC all divided by AD by AC. AC will get cancelled and we are left with BC by AD. BC by AD. Okay. And what is BC? BC is V1T. And what is AD? AD is V2T. And T will be cancelled. So sin I by sin R is equal to V1 by V2. V1 by V2 is equal to N2 by N1. We had studied this relation in our class 10 physics. Okay, V1 by V2 equal to N2 by N1, that is equal to N21. So finally we got the result sin I by sin R is equal to N21. This is our Snell's law. Okay, so this is our Snell's law of refraction. And we have proved Snell's law of refraction with the help of wave theory. Okay children, so that's all about the explanation of reflection and refraction by wave theory. Children, next we can discuss about coherent and incoherent sources. Okay, so what type of sources can be called as coherent source and what type of sources can be called as incoherent sources? Coherent sources are those sources which emit waves that have same frequency and constant or zero phase difference. Okay, so consider two sources S1 and S2 as shown here. Two sources emit waves like this. And if you consider the phase difference between these two sources, it will be zero. Why? Because both the waves travel with the same phase. Both the waves starts together, becomes maximum together, becomes minimum together, again become maximum together, minimum together, like this. That means the starting point and the finishing point of both the waves are same. So these two waves are in phase. The phase difference between them is zero. So these two waves are in phase and these two sources can be considered as coherent sources. At the same time, consider these two waves. Here, second wave is not in phase with the first wave, but at the same time, these two waves are having a constant phase difference. If we consider any point, if we consider this point, what is the phase difference between these two waves at this point? Here, the wave is having a maximum value, here it is having a minimum value. If we consider the phase difference or the angle between them is 180 degree. Okay, and again if you consider the point, again if you consider this point here, what is the angle between them? Here it is minimum, here it is maximum, angle between them is 180 degree. So at any point, the phase difference between these two waves will be 180 degree. That means these two waves are having a constant phase difference. So these two sources can be considered as coherent sources. So coherent sources are those sources which emit waves that have same frequency and constant or zero phase difference. So frequency will be same, also the phase difference between these two waves will be constant or 0. Okay, and what do you mean by incoherent sources? Incoherent sources are those sources that emit waves that have random frequencies and phase differences. So whenever you consider these two sources, you will understand these two waves are having different frequencies. Their frequencies are not matching with each other, and also their phase differences are different. These two waves are not in phase with each other. So such type of sources are known as incoherent sources. Okay. Next we can discuss the most important concept, that is superposition of waves. What do you mean by superposition of waves? First we can explain the example, afterwards we can come back to the superposition. You know that light travels in the form of waves. So here consider two sources S1 and S2 which produces waves as shown below. Okay, so S1 produce a wave like this, S2 produce a wave like this, and the waves produced by these two sources reach the screen at the same time. And on the screen you can see this is the crest of the wave, isn't it? This is the crest of the wave, and this is the trough of the wave. So again this is the crest, and here also this is the crest. So on the screen at any instant, crest of the wave meets with the crest of other wave. Okay, so what will be the resultant amplitude of these two waves on the screen? Resultant amplitudes will be the sum of amplitudes of these two waves. So the amplitude of first wave is A, amplitude of second wave is A. So the total amplitude will be A plus A, 2A. And intensity is always proportional to amplitude square. So here total amplitude is 2A. So intensity I will be equal to 2A whole square, that is equal to 4A square. Okay, and on the screen what happened? Crest of one wave superimposed with the crest of another wave and produces maximum intensity of 4A square. So this method of adding amplitudes of waves is called superposition of waves. And superposition are of two types, constructive superposition and destructive superposition. What I have explained just now is an example for constructive superposition. Here the crest of one wave superimposed with the crest of another wave and produces maximum intensity. Brightness is observed on the screen whenever constructive superposition occurs. Crest plus crest give brightness. And what is destructive? From the name itself you might have understood. This is the example for destructive superposition. On the screen what happens? Trough of one, this is the trough of one wave meets with the crest of another wave, isn't it? So what will be the total amplitude? You know, in the negative direction amplitude can be taken as minus A. Okay, so here trough of wave meets with the crest of another wave. So the amplitude of the trough will be minus A, amplitude of the crest will be A. So the total amplitude will be A plus minus A, that is 0. So if amplitude is 0, then intensity will be 0. That means darkness is observed on the screen. So this type of superposition is called destructive superposition. And these concepts are very important. We will explain interference and diffraction phenomena based on this superposition principle. Okay, so always remember this concepts: superposition, two types of superposition, constructive and destructive superposition. So children, with this I am concluding my session. Notes of the topic and YouTube video have been uploaded. Just go through it. We will meet in the next session. Till then, take care all of you. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.